Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Full Press Hockey Weekly here on a Tuesday night. I'm your host, Jim Berenger. Supposed to be joined by Chris Wassel. I guess his internet went out again. He's having some technical difficulties. But,
Striker,
oh, there
striker,
he is. He's
striker, striker,
back.
striker. It's always during the intro video. It never fails. It just like goes dead. It
At least
does
you're not.
not.
At least you're not muted this time.
Well, yeah, about
Yeah.
that.
But anyway, welcome to Full Press Hockey Weekly here on a Tuesday night. Our regular host, Mike Straw, dealing with some issues tonight. We wish the best to him after the events of today. We just want to say, to everybody, go hug your loved ones and everything like that. Thoughts and prayers with the families, and just another tragic incident. So please, your mental health always comes first. We're here for a distraction here every Tuesday night. I'm glad you're joining us. You can find this show on Facebook.com/FullPressHockey, Twitter, Full Press NHL, YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. And we got some comments already. Kings of the King says, let's go Avs, and go Avs go, Brandon. So Avalanche, the big Avs fans right here. But we got to talk off the top about the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending, reigning, undisputed Stanley Cup champion Tampa Bay Lightning.
Hey, it's true. Until you beat the, it's like in order to beat a team, you have to beat the team.
Seriously, it really is. And something about this Lightning team, I mean, you could see after they won that series last night against Florida, again, the schedule with the back-to-back, but to me, the series was over after game two when Tampa scored with 3.8 seconds left in the third period. You knew it was all downhill. And it's not like Bobrovsky played a bad series either. He played really good, except the problem is Andrei Vasilevsky's on the other side.
Yeah, think about it, guys. Let this sink in. At one point, shots were 30-8. The expected goals in the game, and this is where it gets weird, was almost even. I mean, how in the heck? I mean, it's like, that's how crazy it was, and that's because of Vasilevsky. I mean, look, he had one of the probably best 4-game series that you're ever going to see when it comes to the playoffs, at least for the modern generation. I think it was something like 6.23 goals saved above expected for
Yeah,
four
because
games.
because the Panthers were one of the best teams in the regular season. Goals
Yeah,
for they averaged 4.11 goals per game.
yeah,
I think he's what was it? Something I read the advanced stats or something said he reduced that by like two, and like the like
yeah.
goals per game came down, and the goals above expected came down by like 10. It was ridiculous. I mean, the Panthers should have had at least 2-3 goals last night in the first period because they outshot Tampa 17-3 Monday night in Game 4. I mean, they were ridiculous. I mean, but Vasilevsky, what? But this is all this guy does in closeout games going back to 2020. Guy's 7-0 with 6 shutouts.
It's
It's
ridiculous.
like this is unbelievable what this guy's doing.
And I know people will say, "Oh, well, it's because it's against this team or that team." No, that was against Florida. Florida's no slouch. I mean, look at what he did against Toronto in Game 7. That's
Gave
all.
up one goal.
He gave up one goal to this Toronto team. Which, by the way, for our Toronto friends out there, you get no quantum of solace. That's right. You get a Bond reference on this show.
And a
There
bad
is
one too.
yeah, but you have to mention it as such because you get no none. No solace for you.
Mm-mm.
None.
No.
You had a chance to finish this team off, and like Jason Voorhees, they rose from the dead. The lightning bolt went through his eye. The eye opened, and he went and started. And that's exactly what Tampa did. They woke up, and they haven't looked back since.
No, I mean, think about this. I was talking to our buddy Michael, who writes about Toronto, is doing a great job with the postseason dissections. I said he's like, oh, he talking about the Lightning. I said, think about this. If they don't blow a lead in Game 5, the series is over in 6 games.
It's true. It's 100% true.
I mean, they were rolling from game four on. They were up 2-0. They let Toronto win that game.
Yeah, they had that
I,
one blip.
they had that one blip, and I think if Jack Campbell doesn't steal that game five and doesn't make it 3-0, if it went to 3-0, the game was over and the series was over. But they rose from the dead like they always do, and you could see it last night on the handshake line. John Cooper and all those guys after they beat Florida, workmanlike. It wasn't. There was no relief. There was no nothing. No celebration. It's like, okay, we expect to be here now. There was relief against Toronto. They were cheering, high five, and all that stuff. Now it's workmanlike.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the difference between them and most teams that you see in this era. That's what makes them unique. I mean, look, whether they go on to win a third straight cup, I don't know. You never know. Stranger things have happened. I mean, look, they lost Braden Point before the series even started. Obviously, they had no Braden Point, and they still pulled this off. I
Yeah,
mean,
think
it,
about
it
it.
wasn't even close.
No, it
In the
wasn't
sense of,
close.
I mean, you don't know, and it's kind of one of those things you have to sit there and go, gotta appreciate this because you never know when it's going to something like this is going to happen again.
I agree. I don't think, this is, you talk about dynasties, you talk about modern day dynasties. There's six conference finals now, I think in 8 years. It's ridiculous of what they're doing. Kucherov stepped up his game huge in this series with no Braden points, 7 power play points, I believe, in the series. He was on fire. Stamkos was on fire. I mean, think about it. I think this was the first time we've seen two coaches challenges within like 5 minutes of each other, like disallowed goal. No, we're going to review, missed stoppage. Goal, no, missed stoppage. And then of course when Maroon scores, there's a little bit of but they all look up to the sky. They're like, okay, let's see what happens now.
Yeah, you have to admit, it's like, is the third time the charm here? Oh, it is. Oh, cool. And they just that was it. You knew it was over.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
You just had something was in the air when Vasilevsky was on at the beginning, and he just decided to go into his zone and play the way he played. And yeah, Tampa's getting outshot, but they started to find their offense. And you knew if they scored the first goal with only having 10 or 11 shots, Florida was in for a bad night, and they were going to be swept out of the playoffs. I mean, their power play, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that in a minute.
that's an interesting
That's a
one
great
because
question. But to me, the difference in this series, as I wrote in a preview, was going to be special teams. You cannot go 1 for 30 in the playoffs and expect to win. It just cannot happen on the power play. Cannot happen. I believe Florida surrendered, I think, 4 or 5 power play goals to Tampa in this series, and that
yep.
was the difference. And obviously Vasilevsky, but Florida's power play was just not good enough. They got away with mistakes against Washington in the first round. They got back in it because of bad turnovers and pucks not getting deep. Tampa was never going to allow you to do it. Never.
Never. I mean, look, the last time a team struggled that badly on the power play and went on to win the Stanley Cup was the Boston Bruins,
Yeah, 2011.
and they got away with it for 3 rounds. And even they needed a kick. Remember, there was that big hit
Game
that, that
3.
turned that turned that entire series around, and then all of a sudden Boston's power play came alive. So
Yeah, it
even
did.
then, at some point, Boston's power play had to wake up. And you could say the same for Florida. At some point, you thought that their power play was going to do something. And
Well,
it
they
just,
scored a goal in game 3, and you're like, okay, here we go. They broke the
yeah,
schneid.
you
It's
kind of
like,
thought
okay, here we go. And then, no.
they didn't score a goal for the rest of the series.
No, and it was crazy because you look at some of the power play chances that they had. McDonough sticking away, guy blocks a shot. This guy's in the way. Vasilev. It's
Yep.
like, what can they do? They had great movement in Game 4. I thought they were going to get one. They were moving the puck. They were playing better. I guess that's what happens when you go to the strip club. I don't know. I mean, but
At the
they
club.
at the club. I mean, they played better, but I think the problem was I think Andrew Burnett made. I don't think he's the right fit for this team. He did a great job. Nothing against him what he did in the regular season, but he needed to make the adjustments in this series, and he didn't do it on the power play. And I think putting Joe Thornton in Game 4, while I like the decision, was a game too late.
Yeah, and that's kind of the problem. He got out coached by a Stanley Cup winning coach.
Yeah, exactly.
So you know what? At one token, you go, well, is he the right man for the job? But at the same time, you know what? It's like John Cooper.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of have to balance it. I mean, it's something he can grow into in time, and in Florida, at the very least, they'll have the chance to, or at least that's
Right.
the we
The
think the
hope.
thought process. I
The
mean, we
hope
don't know.
is
Yeah, we don't know what's going to happen in Florida.
no, we don't. I mean, what is it? What's the old adage? You got to learn to lose before you can win. Tampa went through it.
Yep,
A lot of teams have to go through it before you get there. Gretzky went through it. All these teams went through it. So we'll see what happens with Florida. I want to go back to that question though.
that's a
Is
great
Stamkos
question.
somewhat underrated and underappreciated at this point? You know, I gotta say he might be underappreciated. I don't know if he's underrated. I think he's more underappreciated because he wasn't there in the bubble, and then he
Yep.
won last year, and now he's even taken his game to another level this year without guys like Kucherov and Point at times during the regular season. He put one of his best statistical seasons together this year.
Yeah, this is something to note for people. Career high 64 assists. Almost career high in game winning goals with 11. 16 power play goals this year. Over 400 shot attempts for the first time in 3 years. I mean, there's a lot to this. Obviously, he was healthy all season. But it wasn't just that he was healthy, Jim. He was a force.
Yeah, he was.
And we got back to the old days of seeing Stamkos, and there's Stamkos in his version of The Office.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously the one goal against Florida stands out above any, because you just see the smile on his face. It's like
Yeah.
yeah, you know it was nice to see.
Yeah, it was.
And you love that enthusiasm in the playoffs. I mean, that's what we live for, especially at times like these. I mean, this is something that's like you didn't get this in the bubble.
No, you didn't get this in the bubble because now everybody's back. Last year, only some buildings were full
Well,
here and
it's kind of
there.
a mixed bag. And
Yeah, it was a
didn't
mix.
feel
This
quite
year,
right.
everybody's got the crowd. Tampa's rocking again. Stamkos is doing his thing. That team's doing their thing. But it's just this. They just continue to put together a good team, and I feel like they've adopted that Devils and Red Wings model of the past: draft, develop, just
Yeah.
fill guys in where we need them. Everybody buys into this system, and Cooper's so underrated and underappreciated because I don't think the guy's ever won Jack Adams Award and probably should for what he's doing with these teams. And everybody, and you've mentioned this before, like you think about this Tampa Bay Lightning team, most of this core was there in 2015 when they lost to the Blackhawks.
Yeah.
Don't forget Andrei Vasilevsky was the goaltender in the Stanley Cup final.
It's something else. I mean, you think about it. There was questions then. It's like, well, they got that close. They got that close again. They got, is this team ever going to? And then obviously there was that skip,
Yeah,
and then they got swept by Columbus.
right.
The doubts grew, and then, oh, wait, we doubted them?
Right, exactly. Well, they had to beat Columbus 5 overtimes later, and I think that just put everything in the direction that it's going in right now.
Absolutely.
You can't deny it. And now, a lot of people, we sit off the top, a lot of people rooting for the Avalanche, and those are the same questions that the Colorado Avalanche are getting right now because now they're a win away from getting past their demons of a couple of years now, which is the second round. And granted, in the first round, they didn't really face Saros. This round, Jordan Binnington gets taken out and is gone for the series, and it's pretty much a difference maker. You can clearly see, and we can get to it right now. Nazim Kadri in the spotlight again. Look, whatever side you're on, whether it was you thought he did it intentionally on purpose or it was an accident. No need for racial comments. No need for death threats. No need for any of that stuff. You need to be able. It's a game, people. Like, let's realize it's a game. Accidents happen. It's a hockey play. Whether you're on whether you're on one side of the argument or not. It's unfortunate that Binnington left the series the way he did because he was playing well and the Blues were in this series and they had a chance to beat Colorado if Binnington stayed in the series.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, this was a dead even series. That's the reality. I mean, look, you saw it even in parts of last night's game. The better power play, arguably, St. Louis.
Yep.
Better play at even strength, more even than it looked. You look at penalty kill. Probably St. Louis has the better penalty kill, to be honest. Even last night, Nathan MacKinnon. Huh? I mean, they stopped Nathan MacKinnon pretty cold in parts of the series.
Same with Cale Makar.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't. Yeah, well, there's theory on that he might be hurt, but I'll get into that later. That's a kind of that's the whenever the injury day happens for them.
Yeah, exactly.
It'll magically come out. But look, again, intangibles, etc., whatever. Pretty even series. Bennington goes out. I mean, right away that series changes on a dime. I said it to somebody as soon as that injury happened. Bet the lot, and it's become a mantra of sorts. St. Louis scores first. Bet the live money line in Colorado because you get plus money.
Exactly, you are.
It's just one of those crazy things. Like the game 3, for example, Jim. The live money line was still a hair better than the puck line for Colorado, and it was just like, take it. And it's one of those things where it's like, you have to, because you knew what was coming. Yeah. And that's what people don't realize just how much this series shifted.
Oh,
and then of course what happened last night. I mean, that goes without saying.
I mean, of course you knew after what happened Saturday night with Kadri and Bidding against St. Louis, you knew he was going to be involved in the scoring somehow, in some way, and he put together a big night for himself. When this kid wants to play hockey and takes the extracurricular activities out of his game, I mean, he still plays with an edge. He is who he is, as he said in the Players Tribune piece. But when he is playing hockey, he was such a great ad for Colorado, and one of the big reasons why Toronto got rid of him was his suspension history. But that's a guy they could use.
The irony is, how much could they have used him against Tampa Bay?
And Montreal last year, and Columbus the year prior.
Goes on and on. It's
on.
Crazy, right? It's just one of those things.
It is, and at his cap hit, which was only $4.5 million, which he'll raise now, but he's been such a great addition because he was picking up the slack this year for when McKinnon was hurt, when Rantanen was hurt, when Landeskog was hurt. It was Kadri carrying this team.
I mean, look at how much he saved this team, as far as secondary scoring. Mikko Rantanen has done nothing in this round.
No, he has not.
He really hasn't. So if you think about it, Rantanen hasn't done much. McKinnon the last game or two, Makar's been pretty much held in check as well.
And it's a shame Samuel Girard is out for the playoffs with a broken jaw after that hit in that game.
Oof.
That was bad.
Well, Girard, sheesh. Yeah, you named the broken bone. Girard has probably had it. But still, look, this is a team, Colorado. Now, their numbers, Jim, is interesting. They dropped the plus 140.
Interesting.
Tampa still kind of has the value.
Yeah, it really does.
Despite the fact that they are 2 times. Look, going into the playoffs, Tampa, you can get plus 850 on them in some places.
I would have taken that all day. I would. I don't care what anybody said. You be like, oh, you're throwing money away.
I
Yeah,
did.
it's a
I took a
smart
shot on it.
play. It's a smart play.
I tossed $10 on it. Here you go.
And right now, it looks really good.
It looks really good because it's coming down and it's coming down fast.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know I set some of the odds on Sports Betting Dime with Brady Tretanero and a couple of the guys, and it's like
you ain't getting plus 850 anymore.
You're not even getting plus 500 anymore.
No. Everybody knows. Everybody knows that Tampa Bay is the favorite right now, regardless if Colorado gets past St. Louis or not. You know what Tampa can do in these spots because they've been there before.
And that's what makes them the team that they are. And until again, we could keep saying it until somebody actually beats them.
Right.
Good luck.
And it doesn't matter who they match up with. Even say they get as far as the Stanley Cup final, they have the advantage over every team at every position.
Isn't that nuts?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, when you really think about it, it's like that is a crazy. Now, I wish I joke with you, Jim, only because it's funny. God damn it! I even talked about this with you last week, but it would have been crazy to take Tampa in 4 or 5 games, and we're both looking at each other like, it's gotta go 6.
It's gotta go at least 6.
We both said it at the same time, which is what's scary. And well, yeah, we saw how that worked out.
Yeah, and they're moving on. We'll see if there's going to be handshakes tomorrow when Colorado plays St. Louis. And there's been a lot of rivalry between these two teams years in the playoffs. And obviously Kadri last year with his hit on Falk. So he's already public enemy number 1 with the Blues. It just got worse. And, we'll see what happens going back to Colorado if Colorado closes this out. But I think they will because Husso's last couple of starts, 5-5, 4-4. It's not going to get it done. It's just not going to get it done for St. Louis.
Yeah, like right now. All right, so as of this moment, Tampa is as low as plus 190 on some books.
Yeah.
My bookie has them at 220. Sports Interaction had them right around 2. They actually took it off board again.
Yeah, because they don't know because it's an
NA. I think you're going to see that come below 200 even.
Yeah, I think so. I think they're going to go 190. I think they're going to go 190. But you mentioned a player in this series, Nathan MacKinnon. And I wrote about it today in my notebook piece for Full Press Hockey. I'm talking about this guy, Conor McDavid. What he's doing this year in the playoffs is ridiculous. 23 points in 10 games. Now, obviously, the Oilers play still. That total can go up. He's the first player to have 9 multi-point games in his first 10 games in the playoffs, 6 consecutive. The last time he was held pointless was Game 4 against the Kings. He is on a ridiculous pace, and I feel like he was the one last year that said, I haven't won yet, and I've only played in a little bit in this league. Because he's really taken what Nathan MacKinnon said to heart, and he's rolling with it. And he's the best player by far in the league right now. I love what he's doing. He's willing this team to victory.
Yeah, there's a lot of things to this. I mean, one of the things that that I noticed last year at least, and I forgot who had touched on it in the press, but they nailed this pretty well. McDavid was not getting his shots through against Winnipeg. He just wasn't. I mean, the attempts were about the same, the chances were about the same, but shots weren't getting through. So I had to go and look it up because, of course, I'm dumb, stupid, and sometimes out of habit. It's like, well, before I make a total jerk out of myself, let me just make sure that I have this right. And I took a look. You're looking at a 10% difference between this year's playoffs and last year's. Just his shots through rate. And that doesn't sound like a lot for a guy like McDavid, but when you're down as low as just above 40% like he was last year, and that number jumps above 50, which seems standard for everyone else, but for McDavid it's that much better. That sets up a lot of other opportunities that he gets. Because, yeah, there's that thing called rebounds. There's those things called extra scoring chances that he tends to get. And the most important thing is he opens up the entire middle of the ice. I mean, we saw it again and again and again in game three.
You know, how
That
many
whole entire
beautiful,
second period.
how many, sorry to cut you off, that how many
It's all right.
passes did he make to Evander Kane? I mean, Kane had a natural hat trick. Draisaitl had 4 assists. I mean, it was ridiculous what McDavid was doing.
Yeah, this is otherworldly what he's doing right now, and you just kind of have to sit there and embrace this. I mean, he probably has more missed shots than most people have shots in this series.
But as Calgary stated, they got to find a way to slow him down. But it's going to be so hard because even Edmonton's depth is starting to step up now. But is it because McDavid is like always out on the ice with everybody? I mean, eventually you potentially they may have to break up that line of Draisaitl, Kane, and McDavid. But it's continuing to produce, which is opening up opportunities for everybody else.
Right. If you're playing that much, you're playing 22, 23 minutes a night. Um, it opens up for that guy that only has to play like 13, 14 minutes because that speed alone is ridiculous. Um, One other thing, Jim, though, and this is where it gets fun. I guess I kind of always forget about this. McDavid, when Edmonton had that run 5 years ago, we forget that was only his second year in the league.
I know. I think Draisaitl was on that team too, right? That wasn't his like
Yeah,
first year in the league
that
or
was his
something.
first year, so
Yeah.
it's kind of like crazy. I mean, these guys weren't quite. You don't want to say like ready for prime time, but now clearly they are. Draisaitl still isn't 100%. I understand that because he doesn't probably only has one injury now, but he had multiple injuries
Yeah.
coming in the round two, and yet it doesn't matter. The even at 3/4 speed, Draisaitl's probably faster than 90% of the NHL.
It's true.
So,
And then
I
there's
mean,
a guy named Evander Kane.
yeah, and Kane, whether you like him on off the ice, whatever, that doesn't matter. He is getting to the net, which is what they absolutely needed. They needed a guy that could get stick on puck near the net and cause damage. And then you have the other guys scoring. You have Zach Hyman scoring. You have Yamamoto scoring. You have, when somebody ever lets the Bouchard like just keep unleashing from the point because
Yeah.
it's one of the scariest shots in the league. And then of course we have to talk about it. The venerable 464-year-old goaltender,
Mike
Mike
Smith.
Smith. I mean, look, Mike Smith's been doing this for years, and for better or for worse, the guy is his own misadventure in net, which
Mm-hmm.
is true. I mean, he'll even admit that to a man. But you know what? It's working right now,
But
and I understand the pattern. And believe me, I've heard it all day, like just all day. Edmonton kind of played like this against LA. They had the two routes, and then game four, it was a dud. We don't know what's going to happen. And no, you don't know what's going to happen. But this is a good team.
they are a very good team. They are a very good team, and here's the difference though. In those years, Mike Smith was not hurt coming into the playoffs. This year, he's well rested, similar to what Carey Price was last year for the
It's
Montreal
crazy, right?
Canadiens. But this series to me changed in game one. You know how John Cooper made little subtle digs without taking digs at Toronto, the way he said. Well, Jay Woodcroft did the same thing. He's like, yo, we put up 6 against the better goalie in game one, and they should have won that game considering Calgary was up 6-2 and let them back in the game. And I think this is where the series changed because
Yeah.
I think if you only hold Edmonton to 2 goals there and you don't let it get to 9-6, I think you're playing a little bit better. Your defense is not on their heels all the time. From
Yeah.
that point on, it's been all Oilers, despite Calgary going up 3-1 in game two. It's been all Oilers all the time. 97-29, Kane, all those guys doing their thing. Mike Smith between the pipes. That's what they've been able to do.
And look, Calgary's missing two key cogs. At least I tend to think so. One obviously is Mark Giordano, who's in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
and re-sign there. The
Good
other one is,
contract, by the way.
hey, you know what? He just wants to win, and hey, that's awesome. The other is Christopher Tanev, who, crazy enough, I don't know how much of a difference he would have made if he was healthy in this series against Conor McDavid. Let's be honest. Conor McDavid's on just a level right now that we
Mm-hmm.
can't understand. But Tanev had this way, and nobody quite knows how. It's like the undergnomes in South Park. You know, they steal underwear, they do mysterious things, and they make money. That was kind of like Tanev playing defensively against McDavid. We don't know how. We're not sure how it happened, but he slowed him down at least a little bit. And that's what Calgary needs to happen. And
Yeah,
that's
they
not
need
what is happening.
They need
They
Chris
need
Tanev
they need
back and
somebody or somebody like anything
to just slow
resembling
him
a
down.
defense to slow him a little bit. You don't have to slow him down a lot, just enough so your offensive talent can get on the ice and not feel like they have to do everything.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. Somebody's got to step up because I know Tanev's either been a game time decision, taking warm ups, can't go. He's got to get into the series whether he's 100% or not. They just
Yeah.
need him in the lineup, and they need Jacob Markstrom to make saves.
Yeah, and he just isn't.
No,
He's
he
just
isn't.
not.
Where's Jake Ottinger when he needs him? Because that's what level. That's how Markstrom rose his game for Calgary.
It's crazy, right? I mean, he went from one round being really good, but to be fair though, Jim, he really hasn't been that good against
No,
Edmonton all season.
no, he hasn't been. That's
I mean, we were looking at this the other day, and it's like, well, okay, wait, what happened here? And here's the numbers, and this is where it gets really ugly. 4 games against Edmonton, he's given up 14 goals, obviously.
yeah.
Here's the other problem. 7 power play goals against, Jim.
Ooh, not good. Special teams always a key.
Yeah, I mean, if you go through any of the other opponents that he played against, there's one that was, and that's even strength goals. That's not even power play goals.
Ooh.
So I mean, this is, I mean, there's a huge jump when you look at the power play goals allowed against some of the other teams. Now, to be fair, obviously it ranges from one to 4 games played against, but still, you see a lot of 0s and 1s and a few 2s. To be fair, he only played 1 game against Colorado and did give up 2 power play goals. So maybe there was a harbinger of things to come somewhere in there. But
Yeah.
I mean, you start going through some of these. Here's an odd one though, and this is where it gets really goofy. He gave up 3 power play goals to Montreal on 2 starts. So maybe
Wow.
there is something. Now, 2 of those meetings, Jim,
Mm-hmm.
were in the tail end of the year where Marty St. Louis was coaching. And Montreal's power play did look like it had some movement. It had something going for it. So,
We'll see.
maybe this was something that we should have seen coming. Maybe not, but there were some hints.
Well, the Flames better figure it out quickly, or else they're gonna find themselves again on the wrong side of the Battle of Alberta, like
Oops.
it was in the '80s, because the Oilers seem to have turned back the clock to the 1980s, especially with all the scoring, and could find themselves into a Western Conference final,
Oof.
or within one game of it. And speaking of odd, Chris, speaking of
Yes.
odd, what is up with the Carolina Hurricanes? Now, granted, I know we're not supposed to talk about the live action going on right now, but it
Yeah.
is relevant because the Carolina Hurricanes are 6-0 on home ice, but are 0-4 on the road, potentially could be 0-5 on the road.
Okay, now I'm not going to throw many spoilers out, but I did say tonight the anytime Adam Fox goal. Yeah. Okay. The over on points, which was only 0.5.
It's got
Oops.
two. He
The
hit that in the
over
first
the
goal.
over the over under on shots was 2.5. He's already got 4.
Yeah.
And then of course there's Zibanejad, who has a couple points himself already. The only thing that has not happened yet is Artemi Panarin is still invisible.
He's in witness protection. That's okay.
I start. I'm starting to think something. We gotta start thinking that maybe something's wrong with him.
Well, speaking with somebody who one of the people close with the Rangers, they've said that there's a potential injury dating back before the playoffs even started, and that's
Yeah, I
why he
mean
hasn't looked.
it makes too much sense.
He's done one thing, and he didn't even have a great game 7. But the only reason he's remembered is because the overtime goal against Pittsburgh. So I mean, he didn't really have a great series. Mika Zibanejad is so up and down too. But to
Mm-hmm.
me, the fact of the matter is Igor Shesterkin has found his game, and whether it would be on the road or on home ice, he's the reason why the Rangers are playing so well.
Yeah, I mean, he's made a couple really good saves tonight, but the other thing that I kind of expected tonight a little bit more maybe, and it hasn't happened yet. So this is where it gets at least a little bit odd for me. Um, Carolina hasn't had that kick like they even had in Game 3.
No.
I mean,
Even when they played Boston on the road, they had a little bit more edge, and they still lost. But there's something missing here.
it's like they just cannot play well on the road. It's like the magic is missing. Maybe it's that celebration that the Rangers have. I don't know. Maybe it's
Uh,
just like, I don't know.
I don't know. Something's going on because it's just so weird to have another homer
Now
series like we
now
had in round 1.
now here's the other part too. Now Game 3 saw a vast tilting of the ice. So, we can't obviously say what Game 4 is doing as far as, but we can tell you that there is some sort of similar
Trend.
esque trend towards it. I said this from the beginning. This felt like a long series only because of the fact that, look, MSG is the worst ice in the league.
Yeah, it's true.
And it wasn't going to matter who goes in there. It's not an easy place to play in. It's not easy for the home team sometimes. We
Right.
saw that through the years as well. But give the Rangers a lot of credit. They turned the series, and who knows what's going to happen in Game 5 now? I mean, maybe
I mean,
how
look,
often can you go back to the well? I mean, yeah, Carolina's 6-0 at home. I don't
and
know.
but they're outside of game 2, which they had a better start. Game 1, their start was not great against the Rangers, and if
That
it
is true
wasn't,
too.
for I mean, granted it went both ways, but Kako missed an open net late in the game before Aho scored, and the Carolina Hurricanes hit 2 posts. I mean, and then they won in overtime on Ian Cole, who had that on their bingo card. I mean, I don't think anybody did. So outside of that, I mean, realistically, it's a toss-up series because the Rangers have played well in Carolina.
Isn't that nuts? Isn't that really crazy to think that this is a toss-up series now?
It really is.
Because through 2 games, I mean, we thought this was playoff qualifying round bubble all over again.
Yeah,
It
I
had that
mean,
look.
it did
I
have that
mean,
look.
maybe not the goal differential
Mm-mm.
wise, but the flow of play sure did.
Mm-hmm. But hey, look what give credit to the Rangers.
And as hard as to believe. I mean, look, guys. I mean, we're steaming towards Memorial Day weekend. We almost got some conference finalists set. We have one obviously. We you go. It's the old put us do 2 dodos on the spot.
Yeah.
Who do you got going to the conference finals? I mean, obviously, Tampa's there. I predicted that from the
Yeah, so did I. I mean, I like
beginning.
Tampa from the beginning too.
It's like my bracket. My bracket, unlike some people's, is far from busted. It's still alive and kicking. It's like, who joins them in the West?
I mean, I think Colorado will be the next team to get there.
Yep.
Out east,
Colorado.
I don't know. To me, somebody asked me this question. I said, "Do you think, even though Tampa will not have home ice in either series," I said, "I don't care. They're winning. They're going back to the Stanley Cup final
It
until
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. John Cooper said it didn't matter. They don't. It doesn't matter to them. But this is a toss-up series between Carolina and the Rangers, and I think we could have a similar pattern that we saw in Boston.
It's looking like it. I mean, it's looking too much like it. It's like, come on, Groundhog Day, people. Groundhog
I know.
Day.
Seriously. And we'll figure out, who comes out of the other series. I still say Calgary's got more fight in them, and I don't think they're gonna go out.
They did
whimpering.
show something late in that third period. I mean, it may not have been what people wanted to see,
but they scored a goal.
It was there,
and they scored a goal, which helps too. So, but yeah, I think we'll see who gets to these conference finals, joining the Tampa Bay Lightning, the defending champions, who look to for a three-peat. And as we said off the top, anybody who thinks you're going to pick against them right now, I don't think you are. And we'll see. I think Calgary's going to give Edmonton a fight in Game 4, and I think that series could get prolonged. But I think Rangers Carolina has the feel to go the distance.
It does. I mean, hey, this is where it gets fun. I mean, look, we saw an over/under finally tilt to 5 for the first time.
Yeah.
And I called it the other night. I'm like, this has got to go. I mean, it's like the books are getting unhappy. You can see it coming, and then they slapped it the other way. I mean, if you look, it's like, oh, we're gonna taunt a plus 125 on the over at one point. Now it came back, but it was just the idea of, whoa, you're going really, really hard in the other direction. Why? And a game like tonight is a great example of why.
Yeah.
So, it's like I said, like I've said to people many times, this is not like the regular season. The playoffs are a little bit of a different animal. You have to get creative.
You really do.
This isn't just, okay, money line, puck line, blah, blah, etc. No.
No.
Rangers by 2 goals, by the way.
Ooh.
Was one of the trending bets that I saw for props last night.
Interesting.
Doesn't mean it pans out, but look, so far in that series, once and twice.
Could it happen again?
Maybe it's close. We won't say, but it's close.
Maybe.
I mean, look how many times it happened in the Boston series.
I know, exactly. So
the puck line was king.
It was every time. Speaking of interesting, we talked about the team last week, and this is where we're going to end the show.
Yep.
We talked about the Pittsburgh Penguins, what they had to do going into the offseason. One of their big 3 guys that were unrestricted free agents, Brian Rust, re-signed, 6-year deal with the Penguins. Apparently, his first 3 years has a full no trade clause in it. Yep. What's the AAV on that again, Chris?
That was one that was interesting because
I know this is riveting TV right now. He signed for He signed. What is it? Yeah, his new cap hit is $5.125 million. Brian Rust signed a new 6-year deal with the cap hit of about $5.215 million and a no move clause in his first 3 years of his contract. So,
isn't that nice of him?
I know, right? Isn't that
Took
nice?
a little less money, and it's now
Now he
Pittsburgh might.
plays. Keep Letang and Malkin. Keep the band back together.
Yeah, I mean it's not that bad. I am amused by one thing with this deal though. And people are gonna laugh and probably like go, what does he know, and things like that. I love the fact that you're getting 3 years of probably a good rest, and probably going to get 3 years of oh god, what the hell happened here?
Well, that's
Rest.
because potentially after the 3 years he's banking on are the 3 years left with
Yep,
Sid on his contract.
it is kind of funny that how
Yeah.
it's like, wait a minute. So it's like, I
Now
I
potentially Sid could play more. He could just
he
sign
could
one
play
years.
more.
He could sign 1 year deals like the Bergeron route and all that stuff. But you got 3 years left potentially of Sid. He's gonna play 3 years with Getzel and Sid. There's your top line. Ron Hextall has made a priority get Letang and Malkin signed to new deals. We'll see if it happens.
That's going to be interesting.
I think he can get one of those guys signed. I don't know if he can get both of them signed.
I still think Malkin goes.
I still think Malkin goes too because I think they can replace him. He's
Yeah.
replaceable,
Yep.
and you talk to a lot of Penguins fans, as much as they loved him and for what he did. It's his injuries, his going non-existent in playoff games, his hot head has cost his team multiple series.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. It's kind of the reality of what's happened with Pittsburgh. Well, that and goaltending, but
Well, yeah, and they need that too. That's a must for them.
and the only way they're going to be able to probably do that is if they let Malcolm walk.
Which I think is a good possibility that it happens because somebody's going to pay him.
Oh, without a doubt, somebody's going to take a shot. Maybe in Arizona.
That's where all contracts go.
They need to do something. I mean, it's like there's only so many dead contracts you can take on.
Right, exactly.
Got to have some talent, and that would be some talent.
That would be some talent. That would be a talented player out in Arizona, but I just don't know if that's going to happen. Maybe,
Nah, it probably
nah,
won't. But
nah, I don't think it'll, nah. It's
nah,
fantasy booking.
absolutely. God, it's hard. It's hard to believe that we're gonna like fast forward right through. We're gonna get right to the playoffs. Yeah, the Stanley Cup,
Draft free agency.
draft, and free agency, and
Yeah,
it's still all jammed in.
yeah,
It's like you think the last 2 years we'd be used to this, and it's like,
no.
wait a minute, it's like a few weeks after we're already in the free agent.
Oh. And then it,
We gotta.
but then it's dead for.
Yeah, this year is going to be different
Yeah,
in that sense because we're not like for basically for all intents and purposes, Jim. After say what maybe July 20th, July 21st or so,
done,
you're done.
done. That's it.
We're gonna be
Even
into the great wide open like.
I mean, even after July 13th, I think it just things will trickle in. But at July 13th, the big day, and then after that, it's just gonna be okay. Minor signing, this that. There might be a couple big free agent guys left,
Yeah,
but
darn.
out of that, it's gonna be what vacation mode. Everybody's ready to go, get rested, and it's gonna be interesting to me. I think Pittsburgh's the team. Could take a step back next year. I said this year they might miss the playoffs. They proved me wrong. Okay, great. I still think their window's closing, even though people are like, oh, well, you
It's
still got
closed.
Crosby. He still got Crosby. I'm like, they haven't gotten out of the first round in a long time since they won those two Stanley Cups. They haven't won a playoff series since then. Same with Washington. It's when so it's going to be interesting with those two teams. But Stanley Cup playoffs have just been entertaining. Ratings have been good, and even on a Friday night when the puck drops at 10:50, you got a million viewers watching
It's pretty
Calgary and
good.
Edmonton on ESPN. So I mean, that's really good.
Yeah, when you get the Americans watching late at night from the East Coast, must be a pretty good thing.
Yeah, it was. I mean, hockey was number one on the weekend and on Monday. Except for Sunday they weren't, but on Saturday night they were on cable, and Monday night they were 1 and 3 on cable. So they're doing something right with with this new TV deal.
Yeah, it's a step forward,
Hmm.
and now obviously next season it's going to be like, well, need to take a few more steps forward.
The
I understand the baby steps mentality, but there's an
the
opportunity here.
the big thing for me is with with ESPN not having the Cup final next year, that have those network games on ABC, they have to figure out a way to get more
Maximize.
games on ABC during the playoffs on the weekends.
That's absolute priority. Because look at the headaches that we have with NBC for what it's worth.
Right.
How many horse races preempted hockey coverage?
Right, exactly.
And you can't have that, and
No.
you won't have that with the ESPN ABC deal.
No, you won't. And TNT's done a good job. Yeah, there's been some crossover where you had to go to True TV for a little bit, but
Oops.
all in all games have been pretty much running on time. So can't really knock that, and you can't really knock the champs because well, they're the champs for a reason.
Yep.
But anything you want to hit up before we get out of here for the night?
The big thing for everybody, enjoy the hockey this week. Obviously, Memorial Day coming up on Monday. Get all your barbecue ready and get it on. And of course, thanks everybody for listening. Because look, it's not been an easy day.
Nope.
We know there's tomorrow is never guaranteed.
Nope.
Um, we'll leave the hockey lights on and the sticks at the door.
Absolutely. We always will for everybody. For Chris Vassell, I'm Jim Berenger. You've been listening to the Full Press Hockey Weekly Show here on a Tuesday night. Again, you can find us on Facebook.com/Full Press Hockey, Twitter, Full Press NHL, on YouTube, Full Press Coverage. You can get this audio version anywhere you can get your podcast, Spotify, iTunes. And again, thanks for everybody for tuning in, and have a good night.